You are now tuned into Flippin the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to episode 85 of Flippin the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron. He's Morgan Burkett. And first and foremost, before we segue on, if you guys missed the huge announcement that we had on our Twitter page, Morgan is officially the third co-host of Flippin the Birds. Welcome to the team, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, as of now, I'm the second because who knows where Chris is, but
yeah,
he'll be back. He'll be back eventually. And then, the terrible trio. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
There's gonna be a lot of chaos for the upcoming season and for the off season.
For sure.
The good thing about the fans that are watching the show right now is that now they have somebody that's willing to go the mile and defend Greg Ward.
Yeah,
that wasn't me.
It was much needed. I feel like.
Yeah, that was not gonna be me at all. And excuse my background. I'm still we're reconstructing our office right now. Went from my daughter's room to my wife's office to working out somehow, some way, right?
Yeah. I mean, I forgive you. I got to do something about this eventually, probably. But
don't worry about it, man.
Work in progress.
But speaking of work in progress, man, we have two topics to really cover today. We have the internal concerns of Fletcher Cox, which we'll go over. And then we have the left tackle competition. And to me, I think that's probably the more exciting subject. So what we'll do, we'll tackle Fletcher Cox first, and figure out what the hell is going on internally and why the team actually views this as a concern going forward. So Jimmy, was it Jimmy Kempski, or I always get them confused, but they came out with an article saying that there's internal concerns of Fletcher Cox because he's reaching, a pivotal point in his career. He's reaching above the age of 30, and the team's in a transition mode right now where they're not really rebuilding, but they're retooling, and they got to evaluate as to if Fletcher is going to fit this new brand of Eagles football. My big thing with Fletcher Cox is that something that Chris and I have talked about in the past is that his impact is not on individual stats, and that's the issue for the team. They want Aaron Donald stats for Aaron Donald money, and Fletcher is one of the highest paid athletes on the team. Fletcher's not a 10-stat guy for the last two seasons possibly, but he has an impact. He impacts the offensive game plan like no other. His presence alone is there, but I understand the fact that the guy is not in the best shape, has never been in the best shape, and he's not a player that can really just dominate and just take over a game. I mean, how do you feel about this?
I mean, I feel like there's kind of two things to tackle. Is the reports of is Fletcher going to be healthy? Is Fletcher going to do what it takes to be healthy? And then the other thing you're kind of bringing up is kind of where does he fit, and is he worth the money for this team? Mm-hmm. I mean, and really like that third topic, the money, that might even be its own topic because we know that how he loves to rejig contracts. We know that especially next year we got a lot of players coming due for new contracts. So that's another concern. I think that number one, tackling the health issue. I mean, this is a player that's played 90% of snaps over the last 5 years.
And
like something ridiculous
as well.
Played injured, played all over the field for you. I don't think there's any question that over the last couple of years, minus the injury, he's been worth the money. Mm-hmm. So I mean, last year was injured, missed some time. I think one of the things that's kind of feeding into this narrative is that we keep seeing Eagles, draft defensive tackles, right? Mm-hmm. Defensive linemen. And I think that instead of that being, kind of looking towards the future saying Fletcher Cox isn't part of our plans, I think we should be looking at more like we're going to make sure he is part of our plans. We're going to make sure he stays healthy. That's been the narrative for the last 5 years, and they haven't been able to accomplish it. So I think it's just more of the same. So I don't know if it's really a question of, is this guy really what we think he is? I think he's proven that time and time again. Can he stay healthy? Again, he'll play through injury. It doesn't matter if he's healthy. So I think that, like, again, as it stands right now, he's worth the money. Going forward, that's a big question mark. And I don't know, like, what this defense is going to be tricky. I think it's going to really depend on what he's willing to do for this defense. Because, when you pay a guy that money, he's expecting to play the position he wants to play. And I think one of the reasons why he's been so successful is just that Jim Schwartz style defense where he can do what he wants. So we'll see, like him playing two gap, maybe him bouncing around, playing more one tech, or, we'll see. But
so I wonder if the issue at hand is, the Eagles 2 years ago, they signed Malik Jackson, which was supposed to be that second guy that was going to alleviate the pressure and the double teams off of Fletcher, where teams, offensive lines couldn't handle it. Malik got injured. Last season was supposed to be Javon Hargrave. It was a learning curve. It was a completely new scheme, and he had to, find his footing in it. And he found his footing towards the end of the season, but again, it didn't help Fletcher at all. Now, last season, Chris, I was hoping that he would be on the podcast today because he actually stumbled upon this news. An inside source told Chris that, Fletcher was going to end up trying to ask for more money at some point very soon. The idea was that it would have been last offseason. That didn't happen. Good. Didn't happen so far this offseason. But my thing is, like, it sucks because we see his impact. We see how he's impacting the defensive line. We see how he's anchoring the defensive line. He's done it for years, and I'm a big fan of that. I mean, he's like a bear just mauling through offensive lines. But one man can only do so much. Like, he can't carry the defensive line. I mean, you've had inconsistency from Brandon Graham before last season. Last season, Graham went off. Mm-hmm. Then you had inconsistency with Derek Barnett and Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat finally woke up and, he played his part very well. Barnett is still a big question mark. But now you have Ryan Kerrigan. Now you have more in tune Javon Hargrave. A revamped Brandon Graham. You have Josh Sweat who's coming along. And then you drafted Milton Williams. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to have him playing defensive end. That's why I heard a rumor.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Again, like I think that they're going to ask him to do more, and maybe not necessarily more on each play, but just more in general. Be a bit more versatile, play more two gap. So I think, like, same position as you and me. If you walk in one day and your boss is asking you to do more, I think you have the right to ask for more money. But the question is if the production is going to be there, and that, like you said before, hasn't really been the MO for Fletch. Like, he does a lot of things that don't show up on the stat sheet. So it's really going to be about whether or not, like, he can still produce those. Like, I think it's really going to be based on who's around him, right? If Josh Sweat goes off and it's clearly because Fletcher's putting in work in the middle, then you keep him, right? But I think, again, you have to look at in context. If Josh Sweat goes off, then you got to pay Josh Sweat. So what's a bigger deal to you? Is it causing pressures that turns into sack? Is it coverage sacks? You got a few. TJ Edwards. He needs a deal. You got Derek Barnett needs a deal. So it's really gonna depend about how young this team wants to get, how far away they are. So I think that's another thing to play. If you make the playoffs this year, and it looks like maybe you don't win the first game, you're competitive. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And if you're competitive in that game, and you're a piece away, you pay Fletcher Cox what he wants. And if it's a short-term deal and you give money just for that couple of years, then it's worth it. But if we're a 4 damn, I gotta memorize these numbers now that it's 17 game season. Eh?
It would be what,
4-13.
Yeah.
4-13. Yeah.
Wow.
It's weird. Yeah. Yeah. If you're 4-13, like, you let them go to another team. I don't think you pay for that. We're in a rebuild. So yeah,
I'm not too mad if they trade him though, because I feel like Javon Hargrave is 27, 28 now. Mm-hmm. And Hargrave, I mean, we've seen what he could do in Pittsburgh. He can definitely hold his own, but again, like, Cox is the one player that hasn't restructured out of the last couple of years, right? If I'm not mistaken, because it's been Lane, it's been Zach, it's been Brandon. I think
he did a mini one like a couple of years back, but yeah, not a huge one, but.
I don't know. Fletcher's one of those guys that, like I said, his game is more than just individual numbers, and I think it sucks, to say this, but a lot of fans and a lot of media members just don't understand that. Like Cox's impact is huge. No pun intended. Fletcher's impact
it's early.
Fletcher's impact is huge against the offensive lines. I mean, he's gone against the best, and I can see him being very productive this season with a very, like I said, a very in sync Javon Hargrave and a very brand new defense. I mean, you're excited about this defense, so I mean, there's got to be reasons why Fletcher Cox can finally succeed.
Yeah. Again, like it's gonna be tough, right? Because I mean, we keep hammering this point home, but it's not necessarily on the stat sheet that he shows up. So I think that you're looking at a D-line where there's a lot of players that are actually going to be more comfortable playing in the system. I think that there's something to be said for coming into the NFL or being in your second year in a system, and then it changes and learning that system. Like Fletcher's been doing the same thing for years and years and years, and now he's going to be asked to play two gap again. Now he's going to be asked to play more of a rotation, which is going to be good for his health. But if there's a team that's willing to play that Jim Schwartz style where it's attack, and he can go there and be a contender, I think you're looking at really good. I mean, we already have 3 first-round picks, right? So if you can even package one of those picks just to move up in the first round, it's value, right? And I mean, similar when Liam came on here talking about Dallas Goedert, like if this is a rebuild team, we're gonna have to cut some ties with some promising people and some legends, right?
Hopefully not Goddard. So I'm a little kind of like,
he got some flack for that article, eh?
Yeah.
Good for him.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Goddard this season. But real quick, we did get a question. It's gonna throw us off a little bit. So shout out to Ray Bailey, who just asked us, why have they not signed a formidable corner? I'm of the impression that they're gonna pull the move, they're gonna pull the trigger, and it's gonna be the corner that everybody expects it to be. But it's the Zach Ertz issue right now. They got to move Ertz. That's what, $8.5 million extra that they can have.
Yeah.
To sign a Steven Nelson per se.
Yeah. I think I'm on the fence whether or not they will. Obviously, it makes a lot of sense. But you're right. It's whether or not they can find someone to take Ertz off their hands. I don't think at this point they're going to cut him. I think that, I mean, you probably would have seen it if you know.
Yeah.
Or if they do, it's going to be right before the season. And I don't know. To be honest, I don't see why he isn't signed already, Steven Nelson. I'm surprised that no one's, taking a chance on him. And if it's the Eagles just waiting to cut Ertz, then that's great. But I'm surprised no other team is, poking around.
Well, my thing with Steven Nelson, I feel like a lot of people need to temper their expectations. Like Steven Nelson is a good cornerback. He's a good number 2 cornerback, though. He's not, he's not a cornerback that you're going to sign for your team and he's going to be the number 1 guy and just run it up. No, that's not going to happen with Steven Nelson. That's why I'm of the, like I mentioned a couple podcasts ago, I'm for signing Steven Nelson, but not for Steven Nelson money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want that cheap deal because at the end of the day, Pittsburgh's secondary wasn't all that last season. They got smoked a lot. And that was a big thing. And that was a big reputation that they carried throughout the season. Yeah. So I want Steven Nelson on the discount. Zach Ertz, Jason Kelce came out the other day or today saying that he's optimistic that Ertz will play for the Eagles next year.
Yeah. I mean, again, if he's in house, you got to use him, right? That's he might not be what he used to be, but a great player. And there's this kind of looming thought in the back of my head, and this is the reason I'm kind of on the fence about whether or not they add a corner. You're talking about a team that just revamped their entire coaching staff, and from what we understand, this is a much more complicated defense, borrowing from a lot of different schemes. And so if you do want to bring on a corner, even if it's a veteran, it's going to be a steep learning curve if you're bringing them on in August, right, in training camp. Yeah. It may happen. It would be great, but I really hope if they are going to make the move, they do it soon because, I don't know. It's going to be tough. I think that the more and more time goes on, the more likely it is that they are going to let one of these young corners duke it out. And I think again, we've had this kind of idea of Avonte Maddox in our head and what he can be. And I talked about this in an article I put recently. I like him much more in the slot. You like him as a safety. Is he a great outside corner? No, but you're talking about a guy who's a DB whisperer, apparently, you know, can change teams around. And if that's the case, man, like Avonte Maddox is not a bad player. He might have been put in bad positions, but you know, and then you got the rookies, Zach.
I think he's making me he has my attention. He has my ears perked up
for sure.
I want to see what the kid does, because Howie was extremely high on him, saying that, you know, we had a very high draft grade, and people question if it was like a second round like draft grade, and Howie didn't want to, you know, admit to it. But there's a reason that they reached for this kid, according to them, or they got him for a steal.
Yeah. I'm kind of waiting for that first little tidbit out of camp. You know, like I'm waiting. I think they've kind of kept him a little hidden secret, and then we're gonna hear, like, you know, come July, all of a sudden Zach McPherson's, you know, pulling off some crazy stuff. So,
another thing is Michael Jaquette has been running with the first team. Apparently, so far in this little mini camp. Makes
sense. I think, like, long corner. I think this is Liam's guy, right? That he started talking about. Yeah,
that he made a complete song for.
Yeah. Give him credit. Yeah, it's coming soon. I think he said it'd be out, big release for Independence Day or something.
So let's talk about an actual battle that I mean, I'm very curious to see how this is gonna go. Just for the simple fact that Jordan Mailata versus Andre Dillard. Mailata was a 7th round pick. Dillard was a 1st round pick that they traded up for. The numbers to me don't lie. And I was looking up the numbers right before the podcast, and I'm actually very, how do I say this? Like, I'm not only surprised, but I'm just like, I'm admiring Mailata's ability to really get it. Like, the kid just is learning football, and he's dominating in it. A stat that really caught my attention is, so Dillard's first season, Dillard surrendered 25 total pressures on 183 pass blocking snaps his rookie year, according to PFF. Mailata averaged giving up pressures every 16 snaps, while Dillard averaged allowing pressures every 7 snaps. Dillard allowed was 6.5 sacks in 183 pass blocking snaps. Mailata allowed 7 sacks in 502 pass blocking snaps last year.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah. I mean, the kid, like, you could sing his praises year in and year out, man. Like, his journey is incredible. What he's done in the last couple of years, just ridiculous. And I think that, like, you're right in saying, like, that's more a stat about Mailata than it is about Dillard. Like, Dillard wasn't great. He's going to go through his growing pains, but the fact that Mailata can get on the field and do that with essentially 2 years of football experience, like, that's insane. It's ridiculous. And
he has the height advantage over Dillard. He has the weight advantage. I think he's like 11 pounds heavier than Dillard. But my thing is, like, Mailata has the spirit. He has the mindset for what you want as a franchise left tackle. Like, I don't want a kid that's gonna be struggling with, you know, confidence issues. I want a kid that's gonna go in there for the love of the game and enjoy it. Like, this guy is having the time of, he reminds me of the Australian version of Joel Embiid. Embiid only started playing basketball about 10 years ago, and you can tell how much he loves it. He enjoys it. To him, it's more than just a sport. Mailata is the same exact way. Like, the kid just goes after and gets it and thinks nothing of it. He just busts his ass and then, you know, ask question later.
It's true. And I would go maybe even further, and actually, like, in a way you could compare Dillard too, because I think that you know, you saw 2 years ago with the loss to the Raptors, and even last year kind of being questioned, you know, high pick, clearly a lot of talent, and comes back this year and is just unbelievable, plays unbelievable, clearly takes it serious. So interesting comparison, because I think you could kind of compare both in a way to MB. But man, like, I think it's a good problem to have that we're talking about this right now. But I don't know that this battle gets solved week 1. I think it's going to be, you know, I think they're going to name a starter. But I think this.
Who do you think is going to be?
I think it's perfect situation, ideal world. I would love to see Dillard move to guard.
I was actually just going to ask you about left guard.
Yeah, I would love to see that. I think Seumalo is still probably better this year, just because they haven't really pushed him for that transition. It's weird. It's weird. Like, everything about Dillard really screams like a good pass blocking left tackle. Like his arms are a bit shorter, I guess. They're not too short. He moves his feet well, but it's just something about his lateral quickness versus his vertical movement. Like he moves really well laterally, but he's kind of shallow in his drop steps. He doesn't really come off the ball when he's run blocking. So I think that you simplify stuff for him. You put him at guard. And then in the Eagle scheme, and again, it may change, but a lot of lateral movement with their guards, a lot of pulling, a lot of zones. I think that you just simplify it a bit for him, put Kelce beside him, let him learn, even if he is going to bounce back to tackle eventually. Like, I think that's what helped Mailata, actually, like those snaps at guard. But I mean, you really can't go. If it's Mailata at guard, great too. Like, I don't think Seumalo is going to stick around, unfortunately. I know they just gave him a deal, but
but my question is, like, so I mean, look on there. So Mailata 6'8". Dillard, I think it's a little bit smaller than him. Wouldn't you want a taller left tackle than a taller guard?
I mean, I think length's a bit more important, than height. Like it does. I mean, and it's minuscule. They're both mountains of people, but yeah. But I think that you're right. I think you're talking about that. I think that there is a bit of length. I think it shows up more on film than it does in person. Like you look at them, they're both massive dudes. But yeah, just like a bit of length missing from his game. So again, you put that inside, you put him at guard. Clearly a powerful dude. Like there's not an issue there. But yeah, just simplify it for him. I don't know. Again, he's a first-round left tackle. I think they're going to give him the opportunity to compete. His interviews, he seems like he's really competing. So we'll see. It's a great problem to have, man. 2 left tackles. I think that value-wise, like you're really hoping that they get a deal with Mailata done. Like I think is he up
to par with his contract, or is it
Yeah, I think this is his last season.
There's no way you let this kid walk. I mean, all he knows is Philly football.
Yeah,
and that's such a huge advantage to have.
Well, I think from his interview, he was singing Stellan's praises. I think if Stellan's still here next year, like he's gonna want to be here. I don't think he's going anywhere else. It's just gonna be a matter of money, and that he doesn't really seem like the money type. Like, I don't think he cares all that much. But I was reading an article the other day about him and like the left tackle market. Just kind of putting him in kind of a position based on other contracts. Like he could be up for, $17 million if he is a true, tackle.
When you talk about that kind of money, I don't know about all that.
But you better hope not. But if he is a true left tackle, he really like steps it up, and a team's willing to pay him. Like he could be up for that much, and we could be talking about that at the end of the year. I don't think so, but it's a lot of money.
I can't fathom paying Jordan Mailata $17 million a year. Like, to me, it's like you're pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. Unless you have like a freaking record-setting year where you only allow 2 sacks and like almost like 700 something snaps. Like that to me is like, okay, yeah, you deserve that kind of money, but it kind of plays into their favor. I mean, if Mailata walks, you have Dillard.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a great issue to have. And then if they do sign Mailata, you already have your next offensive line built. You have Mailata left tackle, Dillard left guard, Dickerson in the middle, or Seumalo. Right guard, if you're looking to move Brooks, you could put Dickerson there or Seumalo. And then right tackle, I'm a fan of Driscoll. I'm not gonna lie, and not a lot of people are, but I'm actually a pretty big fan of Driscoll because I feel like he held his own last season.
Yeah, and I mean, I counter you with if they both work out, if Dillard and Mailata work out, then you got a starting left and right tackle. So great position to be in.
That's true too, because Mailata is actually a versatile tackle. I mean, he can play both sides, but I feel like he's just so much more dominant on the left side, and he brings that like, this is my quarterback, like back the hell off kind of energy, and that's what you want. Dillard, I feel like he's too introvert for me. I left.
Yeah. There's a bit of I saw a bit of it actually. I was watching his interview and I saw a bit of it. There's a question. I forget who asked it, but they said, how did the injury affect you last year and how are you coming back this year? And he just kind of like had this grin about him, like this confident little grin. And he just went, I can tell you right now, I'm stronger than I was before I got hurt. And just like, I don't know, it was like that little bit, like,
I don't buy
it's a
it.
little glimmer. It's a little
I
glimmer,
don't buy
but
it. I can't buy it. Like I feel like Dillard is still the same kid that we met in his rookie year, where he was fighting for. I feel like he was fighting to make a name himself because he was such a high pick. I mean, he's a first round pick.
yeah,
But I don't buy it. You know what I mean? Like if I had to pick between the two, right? Jalen Reagor or Andre Dillard, the two kids who struggle with social media issues. I'd go more towards Reagor because I feel like he has that inner mental toughness.
it's got a bit of a fight. Yeah, I think what I worry about is if Dillard wins and like they move Mylod. Like if Mylod's at guard now, he's not pushing Dillard anymore. Does Dillard get complacent? And that's what I worry about.
Exactly. Like I feel like he loses that fire. Mylada is more like this guy, like, okay, put me where you want me to work, and I'm gonna work. That's what you want. Like that's who you want protecting your quarterback's blind side. You don't want a kid that's just gonna be like, hey, I won the position. That's the pinnacle of my career right there. That's it. I've reached him, the Hall of Fame already. And to me, like that's just not it. Like I don't know, man. I'm not buying into to this newfound Andre Dillard at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think competition brings out the best of both of them. So I really hope that they let them battle out till week 1. And I think like even past week 1, like that's what I'm saying. I hope it lasts all season because they really need to push each other. I think that Malav doesn't really have that problem. Even in his interviews, man, like the sky's the limit, man. Like if he's learning this much in a couple of years, yeah, it's ridiculous. But again, like I think that if anyone can make it happen, it's Stoutland. And if they got to move people to guard, like the fact that we have so much talent and young talent, we're talking about guys that were essentially backups on the last starting line. Like, I mean, Dillard was the penciled-in starter, right? But then you brought in Peters for God knows what reason. And, you got Brooks coming back. Like, the right side of the line's ridiculous.
Yes.
And if the left side of the line pans out, like, I think – I can't remember who – maybe it's Bleacher Report, maybe it's PFF ranking the top lines. Like, we're not in the top 10. I think that's ridiculous.
That's kind of wild with all the returning starters that we have. Yeah,
like, honestly ridiculous. Like top 10 for sure, no questions.
I mean, we have the best center in the game. We have the best right guard. We have one of the best right tackles.
Kelce stay is underrated. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know what more he has to do, but I don't understand.
He's definitely like the pinnacle of what you want out of a center. Like this guy's not only just a leader on the offensive line, but he's a leader in the locker room and he's a leader in the city. Like this guy, he's one of the columns of the city. Yeah. He was more of I don't want to say like sometimes he was inconsistent last season, but listen, the guy was coming off what I think it was like a torn ACL the year before that he actually played through, or torn MCL, one of those two. Like this guy defines what it means to be an offensive lineman in Philly.
Yeah, honestly, and like I was watching your interview with Sean Bradley back, and like instantly, first guy brings up Kelce. Kelce's different. And like I don't know, when you make that impression on like I know Kelce's like he's a talker, he's loud, like he's easy to notice, but he really is different. Like he's a different kind of center, and he kind of paved the way for the new age of like mobile center. Like we used to like have all these big wide dudes that essentially just pass block, and maybe they'll get in the way if they're playing a one tech or a nose, but really paved the way, and it's still doing it at a high clip, man. Like. This is a guy that we thought was going to retire 2 years ago and still doing it. So,
and he's not old. He's only 32 years old, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I usually play like to the 35 age, and he's definitely retiring next season. We all know this. It's not it's not a secret anymore. But he's still playing at a very high level, and I'm very curious to see what he's going to do with Jalen Hurts and this new offense, because you mentioned one thing that nobody's really talked about is his ability to oh, damn, you said the word and it slipped my mind. Holy crap. Wow. Don't smile. I know you know the word.
Are we talking mobility?
His mobility, yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
He's one of the most mobile centers in the games. Like, that's huge, especially with a team that's going to focus on a run, knowing Sirianni. It's going to focus on Jalen Hurts as well, who's just as mobile. I mean, I could see this team. That's why I still feel like this team is going to end up sneaking into the playoffs somehow, some way, and just pissing everybody off.
Yeah, I mean, you're given a center who his MO is I loved, man, his pulls are ridiculous. Like maybe the lineman in total, he's one of the best pullers in the game. Brandon Brooks, another insane puller. Jordan Mailata, I think underrated in that regard. You don't really pull tackles that much in the NFL, but yeah, I'm talking about Kelce. Should talk about him more. Let's be honest. I think that he's kind of our Joe Sakic. I was always watched Colorado when I was growing up, and no one talked about Joe Sakic. It was Peter Forsberg and all that stuff. But if Kelce retired after the Super Bowl season or after the next season, I shudder to think about what this team would look like. I think a lot of people would have left. He really was pulling for Carson. He was pulling for a lot of these people. Yeah. Great locker room guy. But yeah, going back to pulling and all these players that can pull, we're running reverses from wide receivers already in the season. That's not a secret. They're not keeping that a secret. We're going to do that. We're running wide receiver screens, running back screens. It's going to be a lot of fun. If I'm Kelce and this has to be my last year, then hell yeah,
you're gonna go out on top. I mean,
yeah,
you go out on top. You have the time of your life. The time of your life. Damn, I can't talk in this podcast today. You know what it was? Because we were rushing to get onto the podcast. If you guys can see behind the scenes, me and Morgan were panicking because Morgan's microphone and headphone wasn't working.
Yeah, I got a new setup.
I had no chance to set up the new intro with the new logo. So again, if you guys missed it, shout out to Morgan, who's the newest member of Flippin the Birds. But yeah, we were panicking a little bit, so I'm a little haywire right? But I feel like Kelce, you have the time of your life, you go out on top, and you enjoy this run of what it could possibly be. I'm very intrigued to see what the Eagles can pull off with wide receiver screens, because I'm going to say this right now, and I'm going to make sure I hold on to this clip. I feel like Devontae Smith is going to shut up a lot of people, because he's gonna be turning on the boosters. And I did some actual tape work on Hightower and Watkins, and I can honestly say I'm more intrigued to see year 2 of John Hightower than I am of Quez Watkins. The way Hightower just pulls off the line and just accelerates is phenomenal to me. I feel like Watkins is a step too late for me, but I'm intrigued, man. I'm actually looking forward to this.
Yeah. I think you make a good point. When you're watching film, there's and we talked about with Liam even a little. There's a higher ceiling, I think, for sure. I think Hightower, the name matches, right? He really has a high ceiling. I think it's just a matter of whether or not he can put it together. And I think one of the receivers we're not talking about that you mentioned earlier today and said is Fulgham, man. Another player. I don't know. It's not going to be. I hope they don't use him as an Alshon Jeffrey and just throw him screens. Let him ball out, let him do what he does. But if he can take that extra step, man, the space underneath for these screens, the space underneath for Hightower, and then apart from that, the space down the sideline. If Fulgham's going to play in the middle a bit more, it's a well-rounded wide receiver group, and so there's a lot of opportunity.
We have more than enough time. Obviously, and I will admit this on this one podcast. Greg Ward is actually a lock to make this roster.
Sorry, one sec.
I'm only gonna say that once. I'm not gonna repeat myself.
All right. I made a mental clip. I should have saved it on my phone or something like that. But
luckily, YouTube actually beat you to the punch, so I can save it.
Yeah, perfect.
But you mentioned Travis Fulgham, and he was actually a topic of discussion today for Aaron Moorhead's presser. And Moorhead mentioned that, hey, you know what slowed down Fulgham was that he got nicked up, and then defense started to adjust him, but he was more slowed down because of his injury. But the expectation, what really got me excited is that the expectation is that they believe Travis Fulgham can be that guy. Not only could they believe he could be that guy, but they believe Jalen Reagor can be that guy. They also believe Devontae Smith can be that guy. Your top three, these kids can really ball out because they all bring something different to the table. Fulgham's not fast, but he can get open. He's not the best route runner, but he's open every single time they throw him the ball. Devontae Smith is probably one of the best route runners I've seen since Stephon Diggs, and I think that's my grave. I love the way he runs his routes. Jalen Reagor I feel like he's a gadget player, but he's more than that. The kid has great game speed, and he's more agile than I feel like people give him credit for. How do you see this wide receiver group actually moving forward? Could this actually be the group we've been waiting for since Macklin and Deshaun departed?
Well, first off, I just want to talk about like the change in narrative, man. Like we're talking about a team that last year we're going, okay, Alshon's back, he's going right in the lineup. Deshaun's back, he's right in the lineup, and like clearly a lack of belief in the young players. So I think that even just that shift, like you're giving these guys the opportunity, is fantastic. They're gonna just pan out way better with the confidence. Aaron Moorhead didn't say anything about the young guys last year. I don't know if he wasn't allowed to really.
I feel like he didn't speak at all last year. Like,
Yeah. So like I don't know. It seems like just a breath of fresh air in that locker room. So that's great. But yeah, in terms of like Fulgham, I think that even if we get like a bit more consistency on what he showed last year. I know he was hurt. And I know he's going through some stuff. Got benched too. Aaron Moorhead brought that up too. He said, "Hey, it turned out well that he got benched for Alshon Jeffrey, and like that's great now. But at the time, like it's hard to paint that as like a strategy for Fulgham's development. So I thought that was interesting.
He was trying to sell it. Like nobody's buying that BS.
Yeah,
but
hey,
I
if
have the
it
quote
works,
right here. So it says the 5 weeks showed me a lot, and it showed everybody a lot. And with that, it also comes with responsibility of understanding that now defenses are going to start scheming toward you to stop you, and that for a young player, sometimes him understanding that took a little bit, and then he got nicked up a little bit and didn't complain, but he had to play through it. And as the season got going, it wore on him a little bit more. So that's huge. I mean,
yeah,
the injury that we were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Like I'm trying to visualize, everyone in their spot. And you have a guy, Fulgham, inside outside versatility. You got a small slot corner. Because this is the thing, right? On offense, you have a lot of versatility. On defense, you're not seeing teams with 3-4 slot corners to use, right? If you're playing a team with a small slot corner, you're putting Fulgham in the slot. And you're saying bully that guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Vice versa, you have bigger, stronger outside corners. Smith's gonna have a field day on you, man. Like,
yes.
And I think that like again, size is a concern, but like I know that you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. He finds a way to find these little gaps of space with his route running. Like it's weirdly like nuanced. Like he takes a step that even my brain's like, oh, he's going to take that step. And then he doesn't. Mm-hmm. And even I'm just watching it. I'm like, that's not where I thought this route was going. Like there's those little gaps of space and having that connection with the quarterback already, like he's going to come in swinging. And I love that. Like this is going to be high amounts of targets. It's going to be 7-8 targets a game starting early. And then you factor in Reagor. And like, again, like you said, maybe more of a gadget player. But we've seen gadget players all over the league find ways. And I think that this guy, more so than anything, is just like he's a playmaker. He didn't really get the chance to show that last year. It's weird to say, but I think that Jalen Hurts is actually maybe more willing to throw that jump ball than Carson was. I know Carson aired it out and tossed it. Those aren't jump balls. Don't get me wrong. Like,
yeah, they were more like bullets. Yeah, beaming it at the player.
That's a go get it ball. Like that's a hey, outrun him. Whereas I think Hurts is willing to kind of throw it in those tight windows. We saw it a bit. There was some throws to Alshon Jeffrey. There was that throw to Reagor down the sideline against the Packers. He's willing to give those guys a little chance, and I think that Reagor's jump ball ability is actually a bit underrated. That was something in college that I know he got some praise for as a smaller receiver, can go get that ball. So you got some really interesting players, and I think, again, I mean, going back to the jump ball, Smith, underrated again. Crazy hands, like ridiculous hands.
Ironically, Quez Watkins, if you actually look at his college tape, the kid is great at the jump ball, and he has hands. He has a phenomenal catch rate. He's aggressive. And that, to me, that was a big advantage that he has over John Hightower, is that Quez Watkins is very aggressive towards the ball. He looks for the ball. He searches for the ball. He'll go for it. Yeah. Hightower, to me, was too casual, and he was dropping, I don't want to say easy because, listen, he's an NFL player. I'm not. But it was pretty damn easy catches that he was missing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mean, there's a reason why I said, was it 2 weeks ago, that I think the Hightower might be on the bubble. It's just going to really, like, I think that he has like a kind of an etched out path in front of him. It's just whether or not he can take the right steps. But I think Quez Watkins is a guy that, doesn't have to take a huge leap for you to find reasons to give him the ball. So I think that's really going to be the difference, is whether or not Hightower can prove that, give me the ball and I can make stuff happen. Because we did see a few plays last year where just really bad drops.
And the key thing is they talk
lazy
about
routes.
Yeah, his mental state is going to be key, because I mentioned a while ago that a source told me that Hightower was a bit of a shithead in the locker room. Now, you can take that so many other ways. Like, was he an ass? Like, this, that, and third. But ironically, I saw a video last night and stumbled upon the rumor again. And apparently, Hightower was pissed off about the lack of snaps he was getting because Rager was coming back, because Deshaun was coming back, because Alshon was coming back. Instead of the kid understanding, like, hey, like when I get my shot again, I gotta show out. The kid threw a hissy fit.
Yeah.
And you don't do that in the NFL. And of all places in the world, you don't do that in Philly. And if more people find out about that, that's a bigger issue, because
for sure
you gotta have tough skin.
Yeah.
And that's my only worry of him.
Well, I think what he failed to realize too is, like, in your rookie year, everything's flying at you fast, so everything's immediate. But he didn't lose that job because Rager was coming back healthy. He didn't lose that job because Deshaun was coming back healthy. He lost that job because he was dropping passes. Like, it was coming. And when you're the only option, you kind of take that for granted. Yeah. So I think that the competition this year really should help him. But we've been saying that with a lot of guys, like how many Shelton Gibson, like these deep threats that we think that the competition is really gonna put some pressure on them to be better, and it doesn't always turn out. So I really hope it works for Hightower. Watkins is the same, but either way, we're gonna have plenty of options, plenty of young options.
It's finally good to actually say that we're not relying on JJ Arcega-Whiteside. Even though he's the biggest unknown right now, because there's been no word of him at all. I mean, we've seen the tape, we've seen him, doing what he has to do, but I mean, how many second-round picks are actually cut before their contract actually finish?
Not that many, but I do feel like I don't know. I do feel like we're gonna end up with an Aguilar situation, maybe a bit, where he goes to a different team and they figure out that he can actually do some things. He's not a number 2 receiver in the league, but a jump ball specialist. I think that he's maybe one of those like fantasy guys that gets you like 2 touchdowns in a week and everyone kind of goes crazy. I think he can do things. I think that he got a bad stretch, but I just think his time in Philly's done. Like, if I was him, I wouldn't want to be here.
Well, he has no real like advantage, because you have Fulgham, you have Trayvon Grimes, you have, I always forget the other kid's name, Jamon Osborne. You have those 3 who are jump ball players. Then you have Devontae Smith, who's the clear-cut wide receiver 1. Jalen Rager, the clear-cut wide receiver 2. Greg Ward, the clear-cut slot receiver. Yeah. You actually, he doesn't fit on this roster at all.
Well, when you're talking about edge, we're talking about with Mailata and Dillard a bit, like Trayvon Grimes already has more edge. Like, just watching his film, like he's already a nastier dude, and I think that that's kind of what J-Jod lost. Like, there was a bit of that at Stanford. It's weird to think of Stanford as a team with any edge. Yeah. Like, since McCaffrey, really, they're not really that kind of team. They're more of a cerebral team. I don't know. That's how I always picture them anyways. But like, you got a guy come from Florida, just like a mean dude. I think he already like has that edge, not only just about him, but in the competition too. Like, I'd much rather have that player on my team if it's for that 5th, position or 6th.
He's got to change his number. I don't want to see 40. What is it? 47 on the field? He's wearing a 48.
Oh, that should change. You took Nate Gary's number, eh?
Yeah, like, what the hell are you doing, bro? Listen, I'm all for these new numbers, but a wide receiver should not be wearing number 47. I feel like who did that tight end? It was Trey Burton. Trey Burton wore a number like that, right? At tight end for the
kind of worked for him though, as like an H-back. Like, we have a lot of those in the CFO. They're like H-backs, they move around, like that kind of fits. But
I guess.
But not for a receiver. Not for a receiver.
No. Yeah. I mean, no. It just doesn't work for me. I can't. No. I hate to see it. Like, number 6 is still not it's still not fitting me right now. It still bothers me a bit.
The single digits? Yeah.
It's not single digits. I could do single digits. Like, Julio Jones looks nasty with 2. But number 6, I just feel like it looks a little boring, bro. Like, it's like a backup point guard in the NBA, man.
I would like to see like 3. 3 would have been
yes. Like, why did he not embrace 3? Like, it was his high school number. And on top of that, you're in Philly. Allen Iverson is the biggest thing in Philly since like cheesesteaks.
Yeah, that would have been fire, actually. Now that I'm thinking,
that would have been nasty.
All right, lobby for him to change the 3.
We got a real quick question from Jock Talk. Shout out to Jock Talk for joining us again, and Alex as well. Hey guys, do you think with Grimes getting surgery, they will IR him and stash him? Yeah, I would think so.
100%. Eagles are masters of doing that. Even if he doesn't have surgery, they'll claim something.
But correct me if I'm wrong. I thought the surgery was before he signed.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I didn't research it that much.
There's something going. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I feel like great AR stash candidate. That's one of those things that I talked about before too. We got a lot of speed on this roster, not a whole bunch of jump ball specialists. So you're gonna need someone. So if it's Fulgham gets hurt or something like that, you need someone. So
So if Grimes is out, does well, I'm stumbling upon an article around, but if Grimes is out, does that mean JJ's kind of safe?
I think I don't know. Like, I don't know how it works with practice. Like, are they extending practice squads this year?
I don't know. I feel like they haven't really announced much on that. I hope
Yeah.
they keep everything as it was, because I feel like the way they handled everything was phenomenal. With the whole you could stash a veteran on the practice squad, like that's how it should be. Don't be so cutthroat. I mean, the NFL is a big league. You have a lot of kids who don't make it at all because there's no roster spots for them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the bigger the roster, the better the team is going to be. I mean, health-wise as well.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Well, I guess going back to JJ, like I don't think he's safe by any means, but it's weird. NFL teams more so than any other sport really stay true to their draft picks. Like I know he's a second round pick, but like he hasn't played like a second round pick at all. But I do think that gives him an edge to kind of stick around. And he's a decent special teamer from what I've seen. Like so.
He's not. I mean, he came down the stretch last season. He caught some deep passes, to a lot of people's surprise. But I don't know. He might be serviceable. Let's leave it at that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, go to another team. I think that he might do some stuff. But
I mean, Atlanta needs a new wide receiver.
True. Yeah.
We do got a statement in the chat from Eagles Uncensored. I believe Hurts is going to reshape what it means to be an Eagles QB and reshape that room for a long time to come, and he will get the best out of this wide receiver group with trust and belief. Listen, I've gotten very weird early Randall Cunningham vibes every time I see Hurts. I haven't got the McNabb vibes. But I don't know if it's just me, but I see Cunningham and Hurts, and I feel like a lot of people are overlooking that because they want to see him as he's just a second round pick. He couldn't make the first round. To me, it's BS. You make it when you make it. Tom Brady was like the 7th round pick or 6th. Yep. But I don't know. It's just me. I get the vibes. I get Cunningham in his young age, just being the ultimate weapon on the field.
Before my time, so I'm not gonna make those.
Listen, that was before my time too. Don't you start with me.
I think what I like about Hurts is I think that he's that happy medium between Lamar Jackson and classic quarterback player. Like I think that I wasn't ready like mentally to really go to like, okay, Lamar Jackson is the new future. I think Kyler Murray again, like tiny little dude running around making plays, like that just reminds me of college. Doesn't remind me of the NFL.
I feel like what? It's funny that you say Kyler Murray because he kind of pisses me off because I have 2 players in that bracket. Okay, I got Trey Young and I got Kyler Murray. I feel like they're identical people in 2 different sports, and they both nag the life out of me, bro. It's annoying.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's just that new age. Like I'm not ready mentally for it. Like I still miss like tough football and I don't know, just having these little dudes skirting around. Like it's just like the same reason that I think that like Johnny Manziel didn't work is the same reason like for me it's having a hard time wrapping my head around Kyler Murray. Like it's just a new age of football, and so I think that like Hurts is that new age of football skill wise, but has that kind of old head. Mentality. Like I like that
vibes. I mean, like he carries himself with that, that title. Like,
yeah. Talking to everyone on the ride, like everyone knows him. I can't like remember in my head the last interview I watched where someone's like, "Oh, Jalen Hurts is talking to everyone," and like that's what you need, man. Like I again, nothing against Carson. Still really like the guy as a quarterback. There's a reason why it was easy to paint the picture of like, oh, the defenders don't like him or Alshon doesn't like him. It's because we didn't hear that, right? Like, how are you going to paint, it's Philly media too, right? I mean, we're a part of it sometimes too, but like, it's going to be so hard for media to pick apart who Jalen Hurts is. Mm-hmm. Like, it just, everything I hear about this dude is like, he's awesome. He's a great locker room presence.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to say in the off season, if he has a terrible season, I'm sure we can pick apart something, but for a second year quarterback, like it's pretty impressive.
What's key about him is that it's gonna be such a weird thing to say, but I feel like he can't have a bad season no matter what. Like even with him like having a bad season, he can't because the kid is he has short-term memory. He has the memory that Jim Schwartz wanted his quarterbacks to have. the kid has short-term memory. He throws an interception. His mind is not where what happened previously. His mind on is like, let me fix the situation. Let me get my team back in this. Let's win this thing. Like, that's who he is. And to have that kind of DNA, and shout out to everybody in the chat, because apparently a lot of you saw Cunningham and Jaws. I did not see Cunningham or Jaws, Morgan. I'm not that old. But then again, I did start watching football in 2000, so I'm a little delayed at that. But actually, Alex right here is saying Randall was the reason he became an Eagles fan. There were no blacks allowed to play the intellectual positions, QB, center, and middle linebacker. Wow.
Yeah. Similar reason why I'm an Eagles fan actually was Vic, right? I was a big Falcons fan. Then Vic went to prison.
So Vic brought you in.
Vic brought me in. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, when Vic went to prison, I was like still young, so I was more like a fan of players. I hadn't really figured it out yet. Big Falcons fan, and then Vic, just with the swagger. Same with Iverson, man. Big Iverson fan.
Yes.
Just like people weren't allowed to be mouthy, be in your face, wear chains, wear all this stuff. And he just did it, and then obviously had a setback, unfortunately. But I mean, how could you not love the guy after he came to Philly?
Yeah.
Proved that second chances are important, and you can make the most of them. Anyways, yeah, ever since then, huge Eagles fan. I mean, so much so that, I don't know. I'm excited for
I'm excited
Reed when he wins the Super Bowl. Like, it's just like Eagles all over. Anyways, go ahead.
I became a big Eagles fan because of McNabb, and I wanted to find McNabb and Hurts. But every time I look at Hurts, like just looking at the picture, like this kid's swagger, this kid's his mentality. I didn't get to see much of Cunningham, but I did see the tape. I saw the highlights. I saw what he was to Philly, what he was to the NFL. And you can't look at Hurts and not think that to me, because he's bringing him back. He's bringing sexy back to Philly. That's the best way to say it. Carson Wentz was nice. Carson Wentz, we felt like we had Aaron Rodgers at some point. We felt like we had the answers to everything. He helped us get a Super Bowl, whether anybody else wants to admit it or not. That was great. But Jalen Hurts, to me, is going to help us enjoy football again. He's going to help us feel what it is to be an Eagles fan. And to me, that's so huge. And that it kind of, I get up and down about it because I don't want to be too biased, but I'm damn excited, bro. You listen to all the old podcasts, even in the Slack chat. I wasn't Hurts fan ever. I didn't like the kid because I was a Wentz fan. But now just studying Hurts in Oklahoma, studying Hurts who he is dude, I am so stoked. You actually have a shout out in the chat from Eagles Uncensored. Listen, Morgan, everything you're saying is why I believe we will have 9 to 11 wins with his mindset, his integrity, his work ethic, dedication to hold offense. Hey, he's supposed to offense like you. Will feed off his mentality.
Yeah, well, I saw someone mention Warren Moon in the chat too, and I had to give him a shout out because that's important for us because that's a CFL guy, played in the CFL and the NFL, and was a superstar in both. So it's I don't know. We're really diving back into history here. So yeah, it's cool. Love Warren Moon. I mean, obviously we're Cunningham fans here because we're Eagles fans, but little trip down memory lane, even though they're not my memories, but hey, I think you're absolutely right, man. Like, it just, I think one of those things that we kind of miss on the job profile, and we always miss with quarterbacks that go in the second, third round, is just they know how to win. Like, I just similar. I mean, I did not feel it with Carson. There's sometimes I'm like, okay, Carson, especially that one season where he was literally carrying a team of trash bags. Like, let's be honest. There wasn't that, but I just feel like even when we're down, even in that Dallas game, it was ugly. I just had some kind of hope in me that was okay, Hurts is gonna figure it out, and it's his first season. But going forward, I feel like the guy just puts you in a good position to win. It's similar with Baker, right? Went to a Browns team that was just miserable for years, and you see that Baker effect, right? Years. I mean, obviously GMs did a great job, front office, retooled. But yeah, just those proven winning quarterbacks have a way of turning franchise around. I think that whether or not it's Hurts 5 years down the road, I think that this is a turning point for the Eagles a bit. I mean, we're talking about a team that 3 years ago was champions of the world, but it's still it's a bit of a turning point here. It's a huge season, and it's gonna be really exciting. I'm excited for it too.
I think my thing about Hurts, and this is my prediction. 3 years from now, the Eagles will look back at Hurts as the biggest win in franchise history because he wasn't a first round pick. They didn't trade up for him. He was a second round pick that actually had somewhat of a red shirt season in his rookie season, but was the demand of the town because every time Wentz struggled, hey, it was when it's Hurts seeing it. We saw Hurts come in the Baltimore Ravens game. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he came in and he had that run in. He just juiced up the whole stadium. Like we saw things like that happen. I'm sorry, not this whole stadium, but I don't think the fans were allowed in that game. But you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
we saw what he could be, and we ran with it. Now the Eagles, 3 years later, I think they'll be a playoff team. I'm not going to guarantee a Super Bowl anytime soon, but Hurts gives them the ability to be great. Not to be looked at as, hey, this is Carson Wentz's team. No, this is gonna be the team, and that's what drives me insane about Hurts is that in a good way is his mindset is like it's us, it's not me, it's us or us against the world. Wentz, it was more like, hey, hey guys, it's me.
Yeah, well, and it doesn't feel like, I mean, it's weird because it feels kind of both ways. It feels like it's gonna really be up to Hurts how far he leads this team. But it really is going to be about him leading the team. Whereas with Carson, it was, how far is Carson going to take us? It had nothing to do with the team. It was really based on Carson. So I think they both carry the team in a different way. And like, I'll till the day I die, I'll tell you that the 2017 Carson Wentz, like that highlight is the most impressive highlight I've seen any quarterback.
Yeah, that was the best QB I've ever played. I've ever seen. That was the best QB play I've ever seen.
Yeah, whenever I'm falling out of love with football for whatever reason, I just watch that and I go, wow. Like, I just get it again. Like, hands down, there's a reason why he's such a special player. But it's just a different vibe, just different energy with Hurts. And again, like, I don't know if he's going to be the quarterback in maybe even a couple of years. But I think that he gives you that kind of that winning edge again. Like, a lot of these young guys came in and, Jalen Reagor never won anything in college. Devontae Smith was lucky, so he helps with that a lot. I think you can already see that rubbing up on the receivers.
Yep.
But we got a lot of guys that didn't really win a whole lot in college. Taron Jackson, so guys like that, right? Like won at the low level, but I think you have a guy like that just knows how to win, and it really does make a difference for all your young players, just being around a guy like that. So whether or not he's the quarterback in a couple of years, I feel like this is a pivotal growth period where all these young guys can learn. Yeah, for sure.
He'll make an impact for sure, whether he is or isn't the quarterback. Before we do have a question in the chat, but before we get there, I see something in the chat that kind of gave me chills. Eagles Ancestor said he's calling it already this year. Hurts will mirror Carson's second season. I'm expecting 3,488 yards passing with 28 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. What gave me chills was 1,012 rushing yards.
Yeah.
I mean, rushes. I forget that he's that mobile of a quarterback where you expect rushing touchdowns. Like even in Madden, I don't remember Hurts that much, and I'm like, damn, like that's kind of bone chilling. Like, damn.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's your prediction? What's your prediction on stats? Let's do it. Let's air it out.
Damn, okay.
Hey, we can come back to this. Use it as a clip.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with 25 touchdowns. I'll go with 7 interceptions. I'm gonna say he's gonna have that Carson Wentz ceiling with interception. He's gonna touch 7. I think 3,500 passing yards is perfect. I don't see him hitting 1,000 yards rushing.
That's a lot,
but that's wild if you actually think about it.
I like it.
It's crazy.
It's a lot.
I would say like 600 to 700 rushing yards and like 4 rushing touchdowns, just to be modest. Because I don't know. Like you got to really like study Nick Sirianni to understand what Hurts is going to do. I think. But what's the prediction?
I think good point. And I mean, you didn't get the benefit of the doubt on this, so I'm not gonna factor it in either. But I think that whatever Sirianni is gonna do in the red zone is gonna factor in a lot. For a running team in the red zone, I think you see that touchdown number go down a bit. But I think 28 touchdowns. Man, do I want to be hopeful or do I want to be realistic? I think you're saying 25 touchdowns, so I'll jump it. I think you're going to see maybe a few more touchdowns. So 20 is a good number. I don't think you're going to see as many passing yards. I think it's going to be like closer to 32. But I think the interception number, you're kind of right, 6, 7, probably. But yeah, I think 800 rushing yards is reasonable. But I think you're going to see a lot of rushing touchdowns, man. So I'm going to say. I'm saying like 8 rushing touchdowns.
I feel like a little kid. I'm not ready to see all these rushing touchdowns because it brings me back to McNabb. Like that's how I fell in love with the Eagles. Seeing McNabb, seeing Westbrook, and it's like, holy crap, you're seeing Hurts and you're seeing Miles Sanders. Which just to segue back because the chat is blowing up right now. So shout out to all you guys who are joining us right now. A little late in the podcast, but hey, we're here for it. Excuse me for a second. It was my Evil Eagle. Oh man.
Josh Hawk makes a good point. We also got 17 games in the season, so you factor in that extra game.
Goodness,
damn.
I don't know. I'm not ready for it.
Like Miles Sanders said, hey, more games, more yards.
Yeah, then they Evil Eagle. What do you think about the running back core? I feel like we kind of touched upon this not so long ago, but I'll let you take the head on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I got time. I got nowhere to be, so we're not even on Chris hours yet, so we're good.
No, not at all. Oh, God.
Running back core. I mean, unfortunately, I would love to say that you got stable back in Sanders, but I think it's going to be a rotation still. So I think it's important when you talk about the running backs to talk about all of them. But I think one thing we've seen is a real dedication to running backs in the pass game, and this is something like way back when we first got Sirianni with the running back room. He really focuses on efficient runs. So I think what you're going to see out of Sanders is if he can do what we think he can do, is those runs, those 80-yard runs, they're not going anywhere. But I think you're going to see a bit more consistency with the 2 to 3 yard runs. I think we're going to see more like 4 or 5. So this is a guy, the total rushing yards might not be up there, but I think average yards per carry, you might see somewhere in the 5 range, which would be awesome. Like that would be a huge win if he can get 5.6 yards per carry, and maybe hit that 1,000-yard mark. I would love to see that. But with the rotation, I think Kenny Gainwell, really interesting guy. I don't know how much of an impact he makes this year. I think it's going to be Kerryon Johnson. That's really your RB2.
Okay.
But it all depends on how healthy he can be. But Kerryon, man, like this is a guy, like if you would have told me, when he had that crazy rookie season that, in a couple years, the Eagles would get him for nothing, I would be shocked. Like this is a guy that still has a lot of talent. Can he hit that top end?
His contract, so they literally got him for nothing.
Nothing, literally nothing. So what's the downfall? I think the more and more I look at, I think that Boston Scott makes this roster.
No, stop that. I'll give you great word, but you better stop.
So that's my next win. I think just based on special teams value, I don't know if he's going to get into the running back rotation.
He can't return the punt. Like he's not good at it. Like I'm not trying to be an ass to Boston Scott, but he if you see, I'm pretty sure you've seen it because you watch more film than I've ever watched probably. Boston Scott misses a lot of blitzes and doesn't really pick up the blocker the correct way like Miles Sanders or Jordan Howard did.
Yeah. I think that that's what I mean. I don't know how much he's going to see the field. I think he will. I think like there's that little spark that he does bring. Like there's a difference in rushing style, and I think that Sirianni really likes that. You saw it in Indianapolis, right? Yeah. There's no reason to rotate 3 running backs that consistently, but they do it just because of what that extra gets to you. But I think that they take 4 running backs this year, at least. They may even take that 5th as just a special teamer. But I think it's gonna be 4, and I think that I give the edge to Boston Scott over Jordan Howard. I really like your idea with Jordan Howard. It makes a lot of sense. But I don't know. I feel like I give the edge just to Boston Scott for that special teams value. That's really what it is.
I don't know because you know what it is. So when I was researching the Quez Watkins and Hightower debate, right? I did come out with an article today in saying who deserves the roster spot, and one thing I did notice is Watkins was a hell of a punt returner that was not used at all last season. It was Greg Ward instead, and Watkins could actually turn on the Jets when returning a punt. So factoring that, and it's kind of like factoring Devontae Smith as well. Like they mentioned punt returns with Devontae. I don't know why. I don't want my wide receiver one returning punts.
Me neither.
And then you have Kenny. Kenny's, to me, Kenny does everything Boston does, but better, in my opinion. In college, of course, he did everything better. But if I'm Sirianni and I want to protect my quarterback, I want to protect my plays, I want pass blocking. Miles Sanders, we know he could, knock down anybody at this point. But Jordan Howard and Kerryon Johnson are my 2 pillars at that point. Like, you want one of them in for pass blocking, just in case Gainwell doesn't see much of the season, and maybe Gainwell's not that great at pass blocking. But I mean, actually, Gainwell actually knocked out.
That was a nice.
He knocked out from the freaking Cowboys. Holy crap! From Penn State. Wow.
Micah Hyde. Not Hyde. Mike Parsons. Jeez.
Yes, Parsons. He leveled Parsons completely, which is phenomenal to freaking see.
That clip circulated, and like I kind of second guessed myself. I was like, oh, maybe this guy can pass block. Don't let it confuse you. Like, this is not a strong suit for him. Like, maybe he gets there, but like he's not coming in and being a top pass block.
He leveled him.
Hey,
But like,
if he does that once or twice this year, like we'll claim he's the best pass blocker in the league. But like, it's not a strong suit for him. But yeah. Like, I think I think it really depends on special teams, man. Like, that was a really big point they made this year to get better at. I don't want Rager returning punts either. Like,
but he's a good freaking. Yeah, he's fragile though. You don't want wide receiver 1 or 2 to touch the punts. You don't want Greg Ward touching punts. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I give you word on the rod, but he's not touching any freaking punts no more.
I think the reason why he returns punts is if you're inside, like it's they're on the 50 and they're kicking in and you need someone to catch the ball. That's when you put them in for punts.
Yeah, you put the ball boy in for that.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, we'll see. I'm pitching for Greg Ward as QB2 now. Now I'm on.
Yeah, you're going AWOL now with this Greg Ward stuff. I need to relax a bit. Just real quick because the chat is blowing up. Shout out to Eagles Uncensored, who actually did mention that he has his own podcast and would love to have us on one day. Hit me up on Twitter, man. Hit either Morgan or I on Twitter. We'll figure something out.
It's a good time, bro.
There you go.
Yeah, I put it in. This is a new thing for me. I'm trying to get good at it. Try not to drag myself kicking and screaming into the future. So, hey, I appreciate it if you guys, I'm not gonna plug my Twitter. I'm not that kind of guy, but hey, it's right there. If you feel like it, listen, it's there. I'm trying to grow
your house too, bro. It took Liam. I don't know how many years you've been working with Liam, but it took Liam for a pretty damn long time to actually try to get Morgan to get a Twitter.
Oh, so long.
The night that we asked Morgan to join the podcast, he made a Twitter instantly.
Yeah, I was like, all right, it's time. I don't know.
So make sure you guys follow him. His Twitter name is right there on the screen. Morgan _ PSN.
Yeah, plug it. All right. Well, yeah, come ask me questions, man. I love talking football. I love talking birds all the time. I do have a full-time job, so, be reasonable. But I'd love to talk football with you guys anytime. So, yeah, feel free. I love it.
It's good to hear. I mean, we're passing an hour and 7 minutes. Damn, I feel like it just got live in the chat. So, listen, if you guys have one more question, we'll feel free to take it. Whatever you guys want, the sky's the limit right now. It is the time to ask a question. If not, we'll close out the podcast and we'll get you guys ready for the return of Chris next week.
I want to say too that Bryan dropped a really good article on camp battles this year. So go check that out. I feel like Bryan doesn't plug his articles enough, but some awesome articles. Did a lot of research on that one, and like this is something bro. Yeah, I know you did. So this is something that's going on throughout the summer, man. Like it's a great starting point, even if you're just talking fantasy, even if you're just talking, I mean, we may not get to that point yet, but throughout the season, Bryan's gonna be dropping these kind of stuff, man. Check his articles out. Support us on the PSN.
I'll be honest, I've never researched tape like the way I researched Pleasant and Hightower. It's wild. Like, I was watching it, like I'm putting my daughter to sleep on, and I'm having my iPad around, and I'm like, wow, like I'm learning more about the game, like cornerbacks flipping their hips, and I'm like, damn, okay, I'm talking to my customers, like, yeah, you need to flip your hips out of my store. So like, it's working out, man. Okay, so real quick, now we usually do this late in the season. All right, because Chris will kill us.
Chris is gonna kill us.
So we haven't had an actual Flippin the Birds podcast yet. And look, Doug is pushing us too, man.
Instead of saying like numbers, let's say like what it's gonna be based on.
We got two questions then. Let's answer this one first. Okay. Because I had a very heated debate while I was drunk about this.
All right.
Who's gonna have more total touchdowns, Jalen Hurts or Daniel Jones? Now I want to take this to another level. I had a debate with a Giants fan that would go unnamed and go undescribed as how they're related to my family. Mm-hmm. I was a little tipsy. Like, okay, so here's my thing. Like, I'm the type of person, if I know something is right, I'm gonna get pissed off if something is wrong. Like, I hate that more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones is not a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. Yes, Daniel Jones has more game tape than Hurts. He has more experience than Hurts. But fourth quarter, I saw not even fourth quarter, for a whole game, I saw Jalen Hurts torch the New Orleans Saints that have haunted the Eagles for the past 3 seasons.
Number one defense at the time too. Number
He
one.
completely like annihilated them, and it blew my mind. That was the game that won me over. Then I saw him pass for 300 yards against the Arizona Cardinals. Jalen Hurts is the better quarterback in the NFC East right now, in my opinion, because we don't know what Dak's going to look like with his ankle readjusted and everything of that sorts. But I personally believe Jalen Hurts will have. I think he's gonna have less total touchdowns next season.
Yeah,
I think
that's not where I thought you were gonna go with all that.
I wasn't gonna go that way, but
Like,
I thought about it for a second. I'm like, listen, Daniel Jones has Kenny Golladay. He has, has burners. Like I give him props on that.
He's also got Saquon, who's coming back. That's gonna be a lot of touchdowns off the top.
But here's my take. He'll have more total touchdowns than Jalen Hurts, but it's gonna come at the expense of more interceptions. Daniel Jones is a 30 touchdown, 15, 20 interception kind of guy. That, in my opinion, that's who he is. He's an Eli Manning all over again.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts is far. I don't know if you agree with me, but he's the better quarterback to me right now. Yeah.
I think so too. I think we always talk about stats. One of the things that we don't talk about enough quarterback is game manager. I just don't think you're going to see Jalen Hurts make many mistakes this year. Mm-hmm. And if that means that he's only going to, hit 22 touchdowns and, 5 interceptions, I'll take it.
I'd rather have an efficient quarterback than,
especially with this offense, man. Yes. Especially with this offense. But I also think that means that you're going to see a lot of touchdowns where Jalen didn't do that much, and Rager or Smith are really making you look good. Yeah. Now that could be said the same for Kenny Golladay. He's a beast, man. He's a giant. I don't want to say too much good stuff about him, but that is a one heck of a receiver. So I don't think the Jones really has to do much to get a lot of touchdowns this year. But I think that you're making a good point. I mean, maybe less total touchdowns, but I'd love to see that interception number be like.
I'd rather have the efficient quarterback, because for years Carson was the more efficient quarterback than a lot of other quarterbacks, and he only threw for he had one season where he threw 33 touchdowns, but before that was like 20 something a piece.
Hey, we're trying to boost our turnover numbers, so we'll take it. They play us twice, we'll take those interceptions.
Yeah. All right, so now
we're doing it.
All right, listen. You know what? It's got to be brief and to the point, and then not too many details, because one, Chris, we're gonna hear from Chris tomorrow morning. I already feel the wrath coming. Two, it could change.
Yeah, this is gonna be the quickest co-host lifetime. I'm gonna put out one prediction and be out of here.
Listen, our predictions could change depending on how the offseason plays out.
Yeah.
So you take the mic first.
All right. So what I'm saying is the first 5 weeks is going to be everything for the season. Mm-hmm. Absolutely everything. I think that you're looking at a back end of the schedule where there's a lot of meat on the bones, and if this team starts rolling early, I think realistically 10 wins is like the cap. I don't think we're going to be 11, 12 win team. But I also think that 7 wins is, unless we're absolute trash and there's something I'm not seeing, but I think it's going to be 7 to 9 wins. So I really had to put a number on it. I guess it'd be 8. That's my prediction. But that means you're 8 and 9. So I'll go with the winning season. I'll say we're 9 and 8. That'll be my prediction, because I'd rather have a winning season. But I don't think there's going to be that 4 and 13 season. I think there's too many questionable teams. Even the Saints. Okay, looking at the Saints, a couple years ago, that's a clear loss for this team. Yeah. Saints this year, who knows? They could be absolute trash. They're it's going to be Kamara carrying a team, who's he's shown that we can stop him. He can be stopped, and I don't have any confidence in Taysom Hill as a full-time quarterback, to be honest. So
I'm looking at the schedule right now. And I've gone through it 3 times since you were talking.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta, to me, was the biggest wild card because it was Julio. It was the.
Are you going game by game right now?
No. I'm not gonna do it. Don't tempt me. To me, you got to set the tone early, and then you have San Fran afterwards. Then you got Dallas, you got Kansas, you got Carolina, you got Tampa. This, to me, could possibly, depending on how it goes, with the defense and how in sync this offense is, I personally believe this team could surprise a lot of people, and I've believed this before, but yeah, I know.
All right.
I can't forget about Kyle Pitts.
I'll give you an interesting question. So
Okay.
so we got Dallas early, we got San Fran early, and we got Tampa Bay early. Out of those three games, which one do you think is the most likely we steal?
Wait, so what was the options again?
So Dallas, San Fran, Tampa. There's another one in there, right? I'm missing. I don't have it up like you do.
Tampa, Kansas is up.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, I Kansas. Who is the most likely to be upset? And I almost, if you say Dallas, I feel like that's a bit of a cop-out. So even take Dallas out of that because that's the division game. So out of those three games, the San Fran, the Kansas, or the Tampa Bay. Obviously, I think Dallas too. But
I personally feel like if we could take one of those games, it's going to be the Tampa game.
You think so?
Here's why.
I like it.
I say Tampa because we don't know how healthy they're going to be at this point in the season next year because, hey, they're coming off a Super Bowl win. And if you guys learn anything from the Eagles season after Super Bowl is that you're tired more than you are rested because you played longer than everybody else. I think Tampa
if you know
is
anything about
be
Tom Brady too, he's worse early in the season. You want him early in the season.
Key. Tampa, another thing, they have a great defense. Their linebacker core to me is probably one of the best in the NFL. But I truly believe, like, hey, if this game's in Philly, if the Buccaneers are coming to Philly and I'm Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and I want to prove a point to the NFL, I want to prove that we're more than Carson Wentz. I prove that we're not a bunch of scrub. It's Tampa. You take Tampa. You could lose to Kansas. You could lose to Dallas. I think they beat San Fran, but you take Tampa. That's the most important game in the early stretch. You take Tampa because you're trying to prove a point. And I personally think we're gonna end the podcast very soon. I personally think this team is a 10-11 win team this season.
And I'm gonna I want you to have that voice clip so that if we do beat Tampa, you can flash it. So I'm just gonna boost. Yeah. I'm just gonna boost you out because hell yeah! If that's a voice clip,
do that whole DJ thing where like it turns into like a song.
yeah, you're gonna have a following like that cat that was predicting like playoff wins and stuff like that. It's gonna be crazy. I'm ready for it. But I mean, I think it's San Fran.
Like, it's possible. San Fran, but I feel like San Fran's more of a given than people are actually thinking. Because we don't know if it's Trey Lance or Jimmy. And if it's Jimmy, that's more of a given than people are thinking. To me, Trey Lance would be more of a worry. Debo hasn't been healthy in the whole season. Brandon Ayuk, he could be better. But they've also lost their running back, Raheem Mostert. And they lost on the kid, the Wilson kid. I think he got from injury, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I think what it's going to be is I think we're really going to have to bet on beating teams that can't completely overwhelm our defense. I think that any game where there's 40 points in it, we have a very low chance of winning those games. That's just the way I feel like for this whole season. Yeah. I think that if we can keep it under 30, we're in every game. 100%, every single game that's under 30, I feel like we are at least in it. We may not win it, but if we can keep it under 30, we have a chance. And if that's Tampa Bay, if they get off to a sluggish start, like we know Tom Brady has been known for, I mean, obviously it's not often, but you definitely want them early in the season. And in Philly with the fans.
And I feel like that's a key ingredient that people are overlooking. We saw the link with Carson Wentz. We saw the link with Doug Peterson. It was casual. It was nice. We haven't yet to see the link with Jalen Hurts.
That's true.
To me, that's a very huge ingredient. That's like literally throwing the freaking adobo onto the rice. Like, that's key. Like Jalen Hurts in the link with Nick Sirianni, Miles Sanders, Jalen Reagor, Devontae Smith.
Yeah. Those last two names, man, I'm excited for them.
I don't know. Like to me, that gives me chills. Like I don't care about the weaknesses. You could talk to me about all the weaknesses. As an Eagles fan and as somebody that's been studying this damn team so far, that's the game I want more than anything.
Yeah.
If I'm them.
And that's what I'm talking about, man. If we win that game, we come in with that game, and we hit that back end of the season running. That's
a statement game right there. Because after that, and we'll wrap it up after this.
All right.
After that, you have Vegas, Detroit, and the Chargers and Denver. You could
all winnable.
Yeah, I mean,
Chargers
they're all
are probably
winnable.
Chargers are probably the hardest game on that.
And then after that, you have the Saints, Giants, and Jets before you go on a bye.
Yeah.
Then after your bye, you have Washington, New York, Washington, Dallas.
I'm kind of a fan of that late bye.
It's not bad.
We'll talk. I'm sure we'll talk more.
Yeah, we'll break it down later on. All right, guys. So thanks for suckering us, and we'll most likely get yelled at. Shout out to Chris, who will be back with us next week. So you'll have the trio for the first time in full HD. I mean HD now for Morgan because he has that upgraded system over there. But I'm Brian Cameron. He's Morgan Burkett, and this is Flippin the Birds.
See you next week, boys.
Take it easy, guys.